Ruben, then you Clay Aiken, but second place gets nothing. So get up out this godforsaken booth. The truth is you sadly mistaken. Proof I'm back.
Sees himself as a journalist. You're a journalist, Nick?
I try my best.
Okay. No, real quick.
Go ahead.
You still do improv?
No, not a little bit.
No?
No.
When you did improv, who'd you do improv with?
I did it with Scott Colton.
Okay, so you fancy yourself a journalist. Would you say you're friends with Scott Colton?
No, I haven't talked to Scott in some time.
So you're not friends with him?
No, Scott and I do not see eye to eye.
Oh, wow. Well, that makes two of us.
All right, so we already know what's going on. CM Punk acted a goddamn fool on the AEW media scrum. So that's what we're talking about today. Now, this has so many layers in it, I could just talk about it by myself. There's a lot going on in this thing. And now we're not going to go through the entire thing because it does get a little bit repetitive. But we're going to be talking about this because this encapsulates a lot of what I like about CM Punk, what I like about AEW a little bit, but it also encapsulates also why I don't like CM Punk anymore and what's wrong with AEW. There's so much to go through this media scrum. CM Punk is going to be the main focus, but we're going to get to Tony Khan's outburst later too. So we're gonna mix CM Punk and Tony Khan in this one video. This is absolutely hilarious. All right. So what's going on now? For those of you who might be a little confused, Nick Hausman is a writer for Wrestling Inc. What they're talking about in the first 30 to 40 seconds of this video is Nick Hausman doing stand-up improv with Colt Cabana. So basically he's friends with Colt Cabana, or at least he was. And now he's telling CM Punk he's not friends with Colt Cabana anymore. This is what led up to CM Punk absolutely about to flat out go in on Colt Cabana. So now this is going to set a good pace, because this is what draws a light on some of the stuff that I've been talking about when it comes to wrestling media for a long time. This guy is friends with Colt Cabana, and if it wasn't for us catching this part of the conversation on a high microphone, most people never would have known that he was friends with Colt Cabana. And I say was friends, so I'm going to take his word for it and say we're not friends anymore. All right, we're going to take his word for it on that. But notice, Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez are there too. And CM Punk is not going to address at all that they're friends with the Elite. They're friends with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. So that means Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez are going to sit there and listen to this guy go off on Colt Cabana, knowing that they have been helping the Young Bucks and have been doing so for years. So that's the double side of the coin. I'm glad CM Punk is calling them out. I hate, however, how he didn't call out all of them. He didn't call out all of them. But let's go.
No, Scott and I do not see eye to eye.
Oh, wow. Well, that makes two of us. My point is, if you fancy yourself a journalist, even if it's for the silly world of professional wrestling, and you have journalistic integrity, people who report things, mostly that are bullshit, and slanderous lies against myself, if you are friends with somebody, you blew my spot. If you're not friends with them, I apologize.
It's okay.
But you should probably disclose who you're friends with.
I'm not friends with you.
I haven't had anything to do with Scott.
See, you hear Nick Hausman, you're like, I'm not friends with him. I'm not friends with him. But wait a minute. You know, he's been doing this for a while. This Nick Hausman guy. He's been doing this for a minute. He's been doing this for a while. The crazy thing and the best thing is, this guy did not ask CM Punk about Colt Cabana. CM Punk saw this fucking guy and just immediately went into, you're friends with Colt Cabana, aren't you? And as, you know, he's kind of pissed because, you know, the entire pay-per-view was mired in CM Punk drama. So we're now starting to catch up a little bit. So now he's about to go into this tirade that makes me not like him.
Colton, in almost a decade, probably wanted nothing to do with him even longer than that. It's fucking unfortunate that I have to come up here and speak on this when I'm on my time and this is a fucking business. Why I'm a grown-ass adult man and I decide not to be friends with somebody is nobody else's fucking business. But my friends, if I fall backwards, will catch me. Scott Colton, I felt, never would have. My problem...
Here's the problem. Colt Cabana got in trouble because he helped you. He gave you a platform in order for you to go off on WWE. Yes, it helped him too. Sure. But without Colt Cabana's platform for you to fire off all that stuff that he was saying that led to the lawsuit in the first place, I don't think CM Punk, that the mythology of CM Punk takes a little bit of a hit. The fact that he was sitting with a friend, somebody he felt comfortable, allowing him to just vent and in some ways encouraging him to continue is the reason why we even sit down and listen to CM Punk today. A lot of this stuff that, you know, he's like, oh, I don't think Colt Cabana really would have helped me. Like, oh, okay, really? So why did you go on his podcast and vent and talk about how WWE fired you on your wedding day and how, you know, let's make Roman look strong and all the other digs that he did on Colt Cabana's podcast? Okay, that was Colt Cabana's platform. Now, I was gonna save this for a little bit later, but Colt Cabana doesn't really have a voice now. Like, his podcast, I think, is dead. You know, nobody tries to interview him. Nobody wants to hear his side of this whole thing, which is why, you know, I'm not too thrilled about all of this stuff because they've been talking about Colt Cabana for a long time. How many people actually talked to Colt Cabana?
I wanted to bring a guy with me to the top that did not want to see me at the top. Okay? You call it jealousy, you call it envy, whatever the fuck it is. My relationship with Scott Colton ended long before I paid all of his bills. I have every receipt. I have every invoice. I have every email. I have the email where he says, and I quote, I agree to go our separate ways. I will get my own lawyer and you do not have to pay anymore. That's an email that I have. The only reason the public did not see is because when I finally had to countersue him through discovery, we discovered he shared a bank account with his mother.
All right. To me, that was, of course, said to humiliate Colt Cabana, but it was funny. I remember when I first heard it, I laughed, but then I thought about it and I was like, you know, maybe his mom is, you know, an invalid, or maybe his mom is, you know, having financial troubles. Maybe he's having financial troubles. This is not something that was needed to be made public. You know, he could have said a lot of stuff about Colt Cabana without going into, you know, how he's a mama's boy and all that kind of shit. And no, he's not going to use those words, but that's the idea that you're giving. And to me, if you're friends with somebody, even if you're former friends with them, unless they really fucked you over hard, I would not, you know, still not divulge certain things about them. It's just a code of, I guess you would say, honor or conduct, where I know a lot of fucked up stuff about people that I would never bring up in public to try to embarrass them. So for me, I'm just kind of like, ugh, this is kind of ugly.
That's a fact. And as soon as we discovered that fact and we subpoenaed old Marcia, he sent the email, oh, can we please drop all this? Now, it's 2022. I haven't been friends with this guy since at least 2014, late 2013. And the fact that I have to sit up here because we have irresponsible people who call themselves EVPs and couldn't fucking manage a target, and they spread lies and bullshit and put...
Look. If you haven't seen this video, Tony Khan's face is one of absolute... He is perplexed. And to be quite honest, he knows why. Because again, Colt Cabana has friends in the wrestling media, but he knows, and CM Punk is smart. He's a smart guy. He knows that the bullshit is coming from the Bucks and Omega. He knows it. Because it's going through Meltzer and Alvarez. And that's why him not calling out Meltzer and Alvarez is a problem. You know, because most people are going to be like, what did the EVPs do? They're friends with Colt Cabana. They're also friends with the wrestling media. Punk is just adding 2 and 2 together. You know, that's all he's doing. That's all anybody who's mildly intelligent can possibly do. You know, I mean, it's not that hard. So he's saying, hey, these guys are throwing this shit out there.
To a media that I got somebody fired when I have fuck all to do with him, want nothing to do with him, do not care where he works, where he doesn't work, where he eats, where he sleeps. And the fact that I have to get up here and do this in 2022 is fucking embarrassing. And if y'all are at fault, fuck you. If you're not, I apologize. But what did I ever do in this world to deserve an empty-headed fucking dumb fuck like Hangman Adam Page to go out on national television and fucking go into business for himself? For what? What did I do, Dave? What did I ever do?
Good question. And he posed the question to Dave Meltzer. I'm assuming it was Dave Meltzer. Without calling Dave Meltzer out. You know, I think he might have a little bit later. I think he might have called out Alvarez, now that I think about it. But I'm sitting here and mostly I'm watching Tony Khan's body language. And everybody is like, Tony Khan lacks leadership. He should be doing something. He should have said something. Absolutely. The moment he started talking about the EVPs, Tony Khan should have put his hand on CM Punk's shoulder and whispered to him, now is probably not the time. You know, now is probably not the time. Can we save this for later? Can we have a conversation some other time about this? You know, but Tony Khan's being respectful. He's sitting there being quiet, but he's blinking a lot. His body language is telling the story. You know, Tony Khan is a character in this whole drama. You know, because they're fighting for the soul of Tony Khan. They're fighting for control of Tony Khan's pocketbook. And CM Punk right now has a huge platform. And he's drawing a line in the sand.
You feel me?
Didn't do a goddamn thing. What's your name, sir?
D'Angelo?
Fuck the Pittsburgh Penguins. What are you doing?
I'm Pittsburgh. I made it.
All right,
It's his fucking funeral. I don't care. He shares a bank account with his mother. It tells you all you need to know about what kind of character that is.
Clearly, I fast forwarded a little bit. I'm not going to be able to go through this whole 23-minute video. Or, you know. But clearly, he's still talking about Colt Cabana. He's jumping back and forth between all of these guys. So Tony Khan's about to step in and make a fool of himself.
You were always very nice to me, thank you.
I appreciate it, Nick. I'm sorry if I'm a little fucking snippy.
That's fine,
I'm
that's fine.
hurt and I'm old and I'm fucking tired.
And
I work with fucking children.
I respect the situation.
I regret not answering your question.
And I only asked it because I have some familiarity and just wanted some clarification on the story.
Yeah, I should have just taken it head on like I did with Blake and Forbes recently.
We're all learning here, Tony. It's okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
This is from Mindy's Bakery, by the way.
Tony Khan is being reassured by the talent. Oh, we're all still learning here. As he's burning the fucking house down, by the way. He's burning the house down. The founders of this promotion, for which it wouldn't exist without them participating in it, are being lambasted in public. And Tony Khan's just sitting there, apologizing to the wrestling media for not saying no comment. I should have no commented, George. Come on. What the fuck? What the fuck?
It's a great place in Chicago if you like pastries and baked goods. I suggest you go there. They're closed on Mondays and Tuesdays, though.
So I fast forwarded it a little bit more. And now they're asking him about Grand Slam, the pay-per-view, of course. Well, not the pay-per-view, but the big show in New York, I'm guessing, Arthur Ashe Stadium. CM Punk shakes his head a little bit and his eyes gets a little wide at the idea of wrestling MJF. Apparently he's got beef with MJF too, and we're about to get into that, I guess. But Tony Khan just sat there and was talking about how, MJF is a top wrestler, and MJF is this, and MJF is that, and Punk is sitting here eating, I'm guessing, brownies, donuts, which, not a bad choice. You know, he earned himself a little sweet treat, and there's no problem with that. You know, the guy's 46, he can, fuck it. And this is his last run. So a lot of people are like, oh, what is CM Punk going to do after this? Look, this is his last run. He's done after this. You know, there's no reason for him to continue playing around with these fucking guys. You know, his future is set in stone. He already got a legacy. He's helping to boost AEW. He's done after this run. Whether AEW succeeds or not, CM Punk is finished. He's almost 50. So everybody right now is basically playing in CM Punk's playground. because he doesn't have anything to lose. Right? He's making tons of money. He's the top draw of the company. He's got nothing to lose. So this is they playing a dangerous game.
Arthur Ashe, that match.
I'm not going to comment on it.
Oh, thank you. I'll tell you why I'm upset about it. Is because if you're an EVP, you don't try to middle your top babyface. Try to get your niche audience that's on the internet to hate him for some made-up bullshit rumor. Really pisses me off. Stepping on your own dick, trying to fucking, make money, sell tickets, fill arenas, and these stupid guys think they're in the receipt.
Now, Tony Khan, his face, he was in agreement with CM Punk. As CM Punk is talking about not middling your top babyface. For the record, it took us 15 minutes to get here. But this is not a fucking work. I want people to realize that this is not a work. At what he just said makes it not a work. Because there's going to be people who are diehard loyal to the elite who are going to be looking at this and saying, WWE was right. CM Punk is a fucking problem. There was no problem with the EVPs until they started doing business with CM Punk. I did it in my previous video. I talked about it. When CM Punk blasted Cody in public and had Cody on his back heels trying to explain himself. This was before he even came in. He had already caused a rift between him and Cody. Less than 5 months later, Cody is out of the company. Now here it is the very next year, around the exact same time. CM Punk is getting into it now with the Young Bucks. So, like, I mean, come on. This is not a work. He's still the top babyface in the company. He's talking about the Young Bucks utilizing the media to denigrate him, to, quote, middle him. It's stupid. And it's also stupid for Tony Khan to sit there and allow CM Punk to burn the fucking locker room in front of the world. It makes no sense. And yet he's sitting there letting it happen. This is not a work. If it's a work, what is the outcome? What is the goal? The controversy creates cash. Crowd seems to believe that as long as somebody is talking about AEW, this is a good thing. Maybe. But you're taking a big, big risk. Because there's going to be people like me. I don't like the Young Bucks or CM Punk. So I'm sitting back saying to myself, this is great. They're going to set this motherfucker on fire. Now, I don't hate AEW. I don't like CM Punk. I don't like the Young Bucks. So they can have their civil war and set each other on fire. And hopefully guys like Ricky Starks can step out of the blaze like, hey, I ain't had nothing to do with that shit. Hopefully a guy like MJF could be like, well, the door is open for me because all the older guys burn themselves to a crisp doing dumb shit in public. Hopefully that can happen from this. Because all of these old fuckers, like Kenny Omega, who's the same, he's like 38 or something like that. And CM Punk, who's almost 50. They have these huge egos, and they're in the top spots monopolizing most of the TV time. And this is what they do with it. They're using it to take opportunities to snipe at each other. They're taking their media friendships and using it as an opportunity to take shots at each other. It's ridiculous.
They're in the receipt.
Tom? Yep, Dominic D'Angelo at freeshows.com. Punk, last time we were here last year, I asked you about like Terry Funk and his influence, the legacy going on. Kind of, and this is for you too, Tony. I kind of like, you've done a great job with incorporating the legends throughout, the course of AEW and as it goes on. Kind of want to see what you feel about how a lot of the modern talent today can kind of utilize some of the advice and take advice from like guys like William Regal and even like Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone. I know I'm missing Jake Roberts, plenty I'm missing, I'm sure. But I just kind of want to get both your perspectives on that and how that can kind of go a little bit more to help you guys out grow as a company.
We have a locker room full of pretty brilliant minds. Jerry Lynn, Dean Malenko, Mark Henry. When I came back and I cut my promo my second week here, I thought it was pretty decent. You know what I mean? It isn't worth shit when you have an empty-headed idiot who's never done anything in the business do public interviews and say, no, I don't really take advice. Who the fuck do you think you are? That's stupid. I'm on a team with Barry Bonds, Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, And I don't need to work on my swing. I'm not going to listen to these guys. They're going to tell me how to swing a baseball. Fucking go fuck yourself.
Now, he's talking about Hangman Page. Hangman Page famously did an interview where he said he doesn't take advice. Billy Gunn famously came out and said that nobody in the back is willing to listen. So this is causing problems because AEW doesn't control who talks to these people or what they say, which is, for better or worse, WWE has better talent control. Talent in WWE sometimes get a little overwrought. They get on Twitter and they'll tweet something, tweet, delete, or whatever. But usually in these interviews, they really stress professionalism. And you have to go through WWE before you can get to these conversations. So that makes them a little bit easier to deal with. Like, that's why all the shoot interviews and stuff like that become a big deal when they leave. But now, again, these guys are burning the bridge while they're still standing on it. He's talking about Hangman Page, who is a top guy in this company, the friend of the Young Bucks. They all stood at the podium saying, this guy, Hangman Page, is going to be our top guy. He's going to be our top babyface. We're going to look to make him a star. And almost the entire crowd was in agreement. Everybody loved Hangman Page. Everybody liked him. I was kind of like, he's okay. And now CM Punk, their savior, is saying he's an empty-headed moron, which is true. So Hangman Page is a fucking idiot. He's a fucking idiot. The guy has Punk is 100% correct. The guy had never achieved anything on his own. Why the fuck is he not willing to take advice? Why the fuck is he not willing to listen to anybody? Why the fuck is he willing to go public and say, we got Arn Anderson here, we got Dean Malenko here, we got Jake Snake Roberts here, we got Billy Gunn here, we got all of these fucking guys, Jim Ross, all these people back here. Taz. I'm not listening to any of them. Then what the fuck is Tony paying them for? I'm flummoxed. I'm flummoxed at this point now. And I'm still looking at Tony Khan's body language. He's over there shaking like a leaf on a tree. Because he knows that this ain't going well. This ain't going well. It's not working out.
That's how I feel about it. I dare you to fucking say that to Terry Funk's face. I don't need to listen to you, Mr. Funk. I know what I'm doing. Fucking grow up.
Next question over here.
Direct towards MJF this time around because you did have a feud with him months ago.
I mean, do I have to? I guess. I don't know. I'm tired of wrestling these pricks. I'm tired of wrestling these kids that think they know everything. But I'm not the boss. He won the number one contendership, and I guess I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. I think Max is a supremely talented individual, but this goes for him and anybody else in the locker room that doesn't want to be here. The grass is not greener on the other side. The grass is greener where you water it. And Max likes to, shit where he eats instead of watering the grass. So
I like that line. That line was tremendous. That line was fantastic. I never said the guy wasn't witty. Guy's got a good choice of words. He said MJF likes to shit where he eats instead of watering the grass. I don't mind it. But at the same time, you have to look at it from MJF's perspective. If he was one of the lower paid top guys and his pay is not increasing in line with the people that he's working with, and you're constantly telling everybody he's a top guy, you're not watering him. He's he could go out and do better. It's a reciprocal situation. Like the lawn analogy, it works. It's great. Except the fact that it's supposed to be reciprocal. Like your lawn is something you take care of. It's not something that take care of you. In this situation, Tony Khan has to understand MJF is also his responsibility. If he's, be the main event of these pay-per-views, the main event of these TV shows, working with Jericho, working with Punk, working with all these guys, why is he not paid as well? Why isn't he being treated like they are being treated? He has every right to make that argument and make that complaint. And what happened to Punk's stand on the side of the worker garbage? Where was all that shit? It's Labor Day, by the way, isn't it? What happened to all that? Oh, stand beside your fellow workers. Except the guy who, is complaining about not being paid enough money. Oh, Jeebus Creebus. What the fuck? Are you serious, bro? Now, for me, just for me, I know everybody else is getting all giddy about Tony Khan, and everybody's getting all giddy about him taking shots at MJF or the Young Bucks or whatever. But for me, I think the devil is really deep in this thing. What CM Punk is going to talk about when it comes to Jon Moxley is going to be something that I think is the root of all evil in this situation. He's going to talk about the similarities between him and Jon Moxley. And to me, this is going to reveal a lot about CM Punk's psychology and what he thinks and why he thinks that way.
We got a lot in common, like we both had some misdiagnosed staph infections. It's a weird thing to have in common, you know what I mean? But we came from the same place, and I think we felt a lot of the same things there, kind of like you're always a bridesmaid, but never the bride. I can only hope that he appreciates being able to me doing that for him, just as I appreciate him doing this for me, because I think we're both guys that nobody ever really did it for us, guys could have helped us out a little bit more, passed the torch a little bit more, and I think we're on an even footing, whereas before maybe you thought, like I'm the bigger star, like I'm here to try to elevate everybody, and I'm not saying that I have elevated Jon Moxley. I like to think maybe I did. I think that's what all of our jobs are, is to get, if one person's up here, it's up to them.
All right, fuck all that. But did you hear what he said? We came from the same place. We had some of the same problems there. Clearly WWE. But then he said we're always the bridesmaid, never the bride. He was always behind John Cena. Moxley was always behind Roman. Right? Then he said guys could have helped us out. Could have put us over a little bit. Both of them worked for Brock Lesnar. Both of them lost to Brock Lesnar. Both were former champions, but was Ambrose really the top guy, really? Even he wasn't champion nearly as long as Punk was. But was he really a top guy, really a champion? Some would say no. Right? So for me, this is in showing the parallels between him and Moxley. And knowing that Moxley recently also did an interview where he was shit-talking WWE. It goes to show the philosophy of why he has the attitude that he has. That it was a situation where he was right there. He was so close. And he didn't quite make it. But then you also have to take into account something I thought was very interesting. Because as this whole thing was going on, Kevin Owens apparently was listening. Because he posted a picture of him working with Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania in the main event of WrestleMania. And everybody knew it was a cheap shot at CM Punk. Everybody knew that. He didn't need to say it. He just did it. He just posted him and Stone Cold Steve Austin in the ring. And all you need to do is think about it. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn both had the opportunity to jump ship to AEW. And they didn't do it. Instead, they stayed in WWE. And they're better off for it. And that's just unironic. They're much better off now that Vince is gone. They were better off with Vince being there, but now they're much better off now that Vince is gone. And the opportunities for them were not limited. They don't have to deal with this kind of shit where they have to take sides with, CM Punk or the Young Bucks, and they're friends with the Young Bucks. So they're like, fuck this guy. Look, I just stayed where I am. And look what happened, how things turned perfectly fine for us. So CM Punk is bitching about, not really getting put over in WWE. But he got to stand in the ring with some really top guys. And Kevin Owens lost to Stone Cold Steve Austin, sure. But he was in the ring with them. He was in the main event of WrestleMania, something CM Punk has never done. And that's eating Punk alive. Still. He was talking about all this time. I can't believe I still have to talk about Colt Cabana. I ain't been friends with this guy in almost 10 years. You ain't been in WWE in almost 10 years, and you still fucking talk about them, and this shit is eating you alive. It's eating you alive. And now you're like, I hope John Moxley appreciates what I did for him, the 3-minute job. Just like I appreciate what he did for me, losing to me at All Out. I hope you can appreciate this, John, and you're not thinking about going back. Because remember, we're similar, you and I. There we have parallel things, you and I. The difference is Moxley is actually friends with Roman and Seth and all of those guys over there. You know? He's friendly with them, friendlier than CM Punk was with John Cena. And he was friends with John Cena. I don't know if they're still friends, but they were friendly. Moxley and Roman and all those guys are much closer. So if Moxley wanted to go back, situation could be a lot different. You know? And that's one of the things that I was thinking about as I saw the Kevin Owens picture come up. I was like, He's basically saying, yeah, that main event of WrestleMania, not getting on the same level with some of the guys that you looked up to, not being put over. Those things are eating at you. Those things are bothering you. They didn't bother me. I got where I wanted to be. The highlight of my career. And CM Punk, which should be the highlight of his career, he just main evented a pay-per-view. A $50 joint at that. And he's still in the back of his mind being chewed apart by the fact that he did not get to be the main event of WrestleMania. He didn't get put over. Who's gonna put me over, Sting? Who's gonna put me over? Get the fuck out of here. All right. So this was very interesting. But it shows that WWE does a good job of making stars, even if they don't make stars underneath their own umbrella. CM Punk is a guy like Shane Douglas, you know, who left WWE, got a this chip on his shoulder. And that chip on his shoulder, it just motivates him. Deonna Purrazzo was another one. When she was on top for a while, she was getting kind of mouthy about, you know, NXT or WWE or whatever, how she was treated there and all that kind of stuff. So sometimes getting fired is motivational. You know, not getting to achieve the dream that you wanted your whole life. Sometimes that is more motivation than actually achieving it. So let's now switch a little bit to talking about Tony Khan, because this one is pretty funny too. All right, so Tony Khan was asked a question about the success of All Out 2022. Where does it land in terms of pay-per-view buys? Just giving a general idea, and he starts giving the breakdown of all the different events and everything. And then he, for some reason, just decides to verge into this.
The competition that we've never faced before. This is kind of an unprecedented marker, in my opinion, but it's still the number is the number, and I have to face the competition out there. But when I compared myself to Jim Crockett Promotions this weekend, I think I got a taste of the same medicine Jim Crockett Promotions took. But I have a lot more fucking money than Jim Crockett did, and I'm serious. I'm not going to sit back and take this fucking shit.
His eyes gets wide. I'm surprised at how deep his voice is, to be quite honest. And I don't know if he's trying to make his voice that way, but it's pretty clear. And he's like, I'm not going to take this fucking shit. I'm like, and I was sitting there dumbfounded by this, because I saw the clip floating around Twitter. I'm like, what is he so upset about? I refuse to watch this whole 2-hour thing. I'm not watching that. I just watched 4 hours of your fucking pay-per-view. I'm not watching 2 hours of the Scrum 2, nigga. I got to go sleep. I'm tired. All right? So I had to go and search out the full context of what he was so upset about. And then it sees that he's complaining about unprecedented competition and equating that to Jim Crockett Promotions and saying that essentially WWE is running the same day he's running. Okay, fine, I guess. I guess you could be upset about that. Why would you? I guess you could be upset about that. At the same time, though, Worlds Collide came on at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was over at 6:30, 7. So even before 0 hour started, because it started at 7. Do you think really that NXT being on TV hurt the buy rate for All Out? Do you truly believe that? Or are you trying to get other people to believe that? That's my question. Are you trying to get other people to believe that? And I've seen some people say, well, maybe it's not the NXT thing. Maybe it's, them having Clash at the Castle the day before. Okay. Because maybe you say the audience in Wales or in the UK, overseas, maybe that's going to be diminished because people, instead of if they had any money, they went and bought tickets to WWE. They went to see Clash at the Castle. They spent their paycheck on merchandise there or whatever. They didn't buy all out. The thing is, Clash at the Castle tickets have been on sale for months. You could have bought tickets months ago for Clash at the Castle. Had a couple of more paychecks to save up to buy t-shirts, or you could have pre-ordered all out. It still doesn't make sense to me. Unprecedented competition. NXT was not running side by side with All Out. It ran the same day, but it was not running side by side. I'm sorry, Tony. What the fuck are you talking about? When Vince was running head up with Jim Crockett Promotions, most of the time, dog, they was running same time. He's trying to get them booted off of the pay-per-view by running Survivor Series the same night as Starrcade. And they're doing the opposite. They're running Clash at the Champions on the other side of, WWE shows. Why are you equating the two? This is not nearly the same, brother. It is not nearly the same. What is wrong with Tony Khan? Did somebody fuck with his stash? He clearly is up on something. Clearly he's out of his fucking mind. All right. The unprecedented competition that we're having. What the fuck? They had nobody had to pay to watch Worlds Collide. All you need is Peacock. It's fucking free. With ads. That's all it is. I mean, are you serious? Unprecedented competition. What the fuck? You act like they ran Clash at the Castle at the exact same time, which is what Vince in the 80s would have done. And he would have given Drew the fucking belt. So they wouldn't have been talking about Drew winning the title in front of his hometown, wasn't it CM Punk doing the same? Vince would have really dogged you out. If you were real competition, they would have treated you like real competition. They'd have tried to get you booted off Fight or some shit like that. Or whatever your biggest platform is. Tony Khan I think it's part of that victim complex. Is part of rallying the troops. Get people to believe that you're being wronged somehow. I'm not going to take this fucking shit. I got more money than Jim Crockett ever did. What? Who gives a fuck? Who cares? You have less brand recognition than Jim Crockett did when he was going through his battle with Vince. Well, maybe it might be about equal, but this is insanity. It's insane. Why would you? I wouldn't even show anybody I was frazzled by that. What do you think Triple H is doing, sitting back in his office in Greenwich? He no doubt he did not see this. Unless somebody from some kid who's a writer or something like, Papa H, here, look at this, and I'm not going to take this fucking shit. I got more money than Jim Crockett ever did. I'm like, what? And he probably burst into laughter to the point where his defibrillator started to beep and give him electric shocks in his chest. Like, I'd have fucking died laughing, bro. Like, competition, unprecedented competition by running 4 fucking hours before your show started. I ran the exact same day, and that was a problem for you. A free show that did not in any way conflict with people buying All Out. You could have watched the Worlds Collide and All Out and only paid for All Out. What the fuck was the problem, sir? What was the problem? Like Bobby Heenan said, I forget which DVD he said it in. You drive down the street, you see a gas station on all 4 corners. You don't like competition, move to Cuba. They put a developmental pay-per-view with, to be quite honest, most people saw a lot of it coming. Some of the decisions that they made. All that stuff was seen a mile away. They still put on a really good show. And it was a light appetizer for your show. And if you consider yourself to be bigger league, then you should have seen that as an appetizer. Like, oh, hopefully you guys did watch NXT and you saw their developmental, you saw, yada, yada, yada. Now come see us. We brought in Tomohiro Ishii or whatever the fuck. We did a bunch of stuff between 4 and 12. And you're not confident enough in your CM Punk versus John Moxley booking, your return of MJF, your Jericho versus Danielson, that you're sitting here bitching because they ran a show the same day? What the fuck? Who cares? Really, who cares? I mean, even if you say, well, they're creating an option. So what? So what? You could have ran Worlds Collide the same day as Clash at the Castle. WWE wouldn't have flinched. They don't care. Now, the question would have been why they just didn't do Worlds Collide in Wales, which, might have been nice. Or somewhere in the UK. Might have been nice to give NXT UK, one big final show to shit on the UK further. But Tony Khan, bruh, everything about this is bad. So he's sitting there listening to CM Punk go off. Then they show a clip of somebody walking up to him, talking to him. Apparently CM Punk and the Young Bucks got into a tiff backstage. They said that there was even punches thrown. Of course, this is coming from people CM Punk literally just called out for, being propagandists for the Young Bucks. And they're saying, oh, CM Punk threw the first punch and all this kind of stuff. Look, I'm not interested in that. All right, we'll see. We'll figure it out how we figure it out. There's a lot going on. Tony Khan is asked about Malachi Black taking a bow and walking out. No comment. I have no comment on that. You have no comment about Malachi Black. You're like, CM Punk has nothing to do with ROH and Colt Cabana being moved to ROH. Had nothing to do with that. I'm sorry, guys. I should have learned. Like, what the fuck? Come on. This is an unmitigated disaster. Nobody's talking about your fucking show anymore. Now everybody's talking about this. I took time out, an hour and some change, to do a review of the show, because the show, to me, it features some guys that I liked, so I wanted to watch the show. I wanted to do a review of the show. And then they did the media scrum and blew the show out of the water. Nobody's talking about MJF anymore. Now everybody's talking about CM Punk fighting the Young Bucks or Kenny Omega backstage somewhere. And Tony Khan sitting there pulling his hair out or snorting another line of coke, not wanting to deal with this. I'm not going to take this fucking shit. Like, you're at all that whatever you call that you have for WWE, you need to aim that at your locker room. You need to tell the Young Bucks and CM Punk, I'm not going to take this fucking shit. And, all of you guys arguing and bickering in the media, we're not doing it. I'm going to fine you every time you do it. And I'm going to start suspending motherfuckers. And I'm going to go public with the suspension. You're causing dissension in the locker room. You need to wield the hammer of authority. You need to wield the hammer of leadership. And the Young Bucks have every right to be mad. That's the thing. This guy's using a massive platform, the platform that they helped build, to shit on them. You are their boss. You're sitting there nodding to some of his critiques, agreeing with some of his critiques. This is fucked up. This is fucked up. Everybody has a right to be mad. And since I don't have a horse in the race, I don't really care. It's the shits though. Okay? This does not make it look like you have your house in order. It looks like you're running a sloppy shop. It makes you look like you're running a sloppy shop. You're coming across like Vince Russo right now. I want it to be real. I want it to be real for the fans, because if they believe that it's real, then they'll invest. Or people will look at it and say, I don't want to deal with this horse shit. I'm going to go somewhere else. All right? Some people are intrigued like moths to the flame of this kind of shit. Some people are very interested in this stuff. Other people, some of the softer people, are repelled by this. They don't want to deal with this. all the bickering back and forth in the media, the gossiping, the sniping, and not being able to trust wrestling journalists that they've been following their entire lives, and them not being able to follow, pay attention to what's going on, that shit bothers them. That's real shit. You got to be smart. Controversy may create cash, but it could also cause more problems than you're, ready for. Bischoff was the one who came up with controversy creates cash. What happened to WCW? Too much controversy, not enough cash. All right. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you guys for your time. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.
MongoSlade. Best house I ever drew, daddy.